This argument has been made repeatedly, but it never seems to sink in. The vast majority of proposed gun laws demonstrate a fundamental misunderstanding of how the world works. It should be obvious, but apparently it is not to many people. And that is this: criminals do not obey laws. It's that simple. Laws which mandate more and more hoops to jump through to purchase a gun, laws which require mandatory registration, background checks, purchase limits, etc., will only hinder people who obey those laws. The only thing that these laws will do is make life more difficult for law-abiding citizens. Criminals will not be hindered by them. All that laws do is outline standardized threats of revenge that the government will seek against anyone who does certain things. That's it. Laws don't actually prevent the action. It's just a threat that if they catch you doing it, they will put you in a cage or take away some of your money to punish you. So, obviously, if someone thinks that they can get away with it, or if doing the act is worth suffering the punishment, or if they're just so emotional and caught up in the moment that they're not thinking about the consequences, or if they're planning to kill themselves afterwards so it doesn't matter, then they'll do it anyway. Laws aren't magic, they're just words. This issue can be illustrated several different ways, but perhaps the easiest and most straightforward is this. Here are graphs using data from the Federal Bureau of Justice Statistics, which shows how criminals obtained the guns which they used to commit crimes. There are 3 graphs, one for 1997, one for 2004, and a much more recent one for 2016. In the data for 2016, they provided more sub-slices to the other category to provide some more clarification, so I've added those wedges in. As you can clearly see, consistently for 2 decades, 75 to 80% of the guns used to commit crimes were obtained through avenues which are completely immune to gun control laws. All that these laws are doing is making it more difficult for law-abiding citizens to get guns to defend themselves. The criminals are getting them regardless. A corroborating study by the University of Pittsburgh, which analyzed data on 762 cases in which a gun was recovered by the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police Firearm Tracking Unit, FTU, found that,
quote, most perpetrators, 79%, were carrying a gun that did not belong to them, end quote.
Something else you should notice from these graphs. I broke up the purchases wedge into all of its constituent parts: retail store, pawn shop, flea market, and gun show. Something that many gun control advocates often use as a scare tactic is gun shows. They stoke up fear telling the story of how anyone can go to a gun show and get a gun without a background check, and then go off and commit a terrible crime, insinuating that such potential is a huge avenue by which mountains of criminals obtain deadly weapons, which they then use to commit heinous crimes. It is often ominously referred to as the gun show loophole. First of all, the lack of a background check is only true of private sales. If you buy a gun at a gun show from a licensed dealer, it is no different than buying it from a store. Secondly, as you can clearly see, the gun show loophole is bullshit. You can see for yourself, in every single one of these graphs, gun shows and flea markets have each consistently accounted for 1% or less of the guns used to commit crimes. Meanwhile, 75 to 80% were obtained through avenues which will remain completely unaffected by gun control laws: street or illegal source, family or friend, brought by someone else and found at the scene of the crime or victim. As always, for this article's sources, more articles, or to get a copy of the book, visit weepingdragon.com.